Welcome to Last of the Romans tutorial on how to set up a dynasty for NCAA 25. So after having set up the settings, like we went over in the previous video, we'll have a look at redshirts and depth chart. I'm going to try to explain how to pick who gets redshirted. So I guess the first thing you need to know is what's your team like? What are you trying to do this season? So we have Jalen Daniels a 92 and Devin Neal a 93. Oh, you know what? Let me reload this actually, um, so that you can see it without the red shirts I've already selected. Okay, this should be better. So yeah, we've got a really good quarterback, a really good running back. Another thing that you're gonna want to try and do, I would say, is don't redshirt seniors usually. Unless they're really lowly rated. If they're under like an 85, I would say then, yeah, you could probably redshirt them if you need to. But most of the time you'll be leaving seniors to play their senior year. So, and these are 92 and 93. If we were to even try and redshirt Neal or Daniels and try and keep them another year, they would probably leave. So and we're 21st. We're the 21st ranked team right now. This is a team that's trying to win and trying to win right now. This is maybe as good as Kansas is going to be in the next 10 years. So yeah, they need to shoot their shot. Let's have a look at quarterbacks. And so what a red shirt is a designation that uh, you're not going to play the player for more than 4 games over the season. And you get to keep their year of eligibility. So if I redshirt this Isaiah Marshall, which I will, then he's going to be a freshman redshirt next year instead of a sophomore. So he'll have another year of eligibility added on top of his 4 years. So he'll have 5 years of eligibility. The college system in the U.S., for those that don't know, you start out as a freshman, and then you become a sophomore. Freshman is FR, like this guy, although he's a redshirt. Sophomore, SO. This one is a redshirt, though. Junior is the 3rd year redshirt for this guy. And senior year is the last year. And then, yeah, this guy's got a redshirt, so he had 5 years of eligibility. He's on his 5th year. So for quarterback, yeah, you want to keep 2 at least. You probably want to keep 3 if you can, but keeping 2 at least is, going to be good enough. You'll have other guys on your roster with red shirts if you're only keeping 2. You can use them each 4 games. If you end up using them more than 4 games, then that's going to burn their eligibility for a red shirt, and they'll not gain it. So if I redshirt Isaiah Marshall and play him 5 games, he'll be a sophomore next year, and that redshirt will not happen, and he will also lose the ability, I believe. I'm not sure it's in the game, but in real life, he would lose the ability to get another red shirt unless it was for medical reasons. Now, in the game, there are no medical red shirts, so yeah, just keep that in mind. That's not an option. A medical red shirt in real life is when a player is injured for a significant number of games. They can apply for an extra year of eligibility. All right, so Isaiah Marshall, yeah, he's a 71, a 70 naturally, a 72 with morale. Generally, you'd want to keep your best quarterback and your best backup, but Easters is a 72 already, so he'll be just as good of a backup as Marshall. I'm gonna go ahead and redshirt Marshall. I'm gonna redshirt Fontana. Fontana's never gonna play this season unless there's a bunch of injuries. And we've got Ballard anyways, who's, I mean, from a 60 to a 63 is not a significant difference. They're both going to be garbage to play with. So for running back, you're going to want to keep 3 at least. You can keep 4 or more if you have the opportunity, but at least have 3. Again, we're not going to be redshirting Devin Neal because of the fact that he's a senior, and because we don't want to take away one of our best players. So we'll redshirt Harry Stewart, though. I would, for running back, I'd keep your best running back, and then I would keep. Usually, I would keep the second best guy. It depends. Like you just definitely keep the best running back, but the second best guy, it's a question mark. I have redshirt them before. If my third string is decent enough, because your second string running back is only going to come in for like maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 carries a game at best. With the way that auto subs and fatigue and all of that operate, you're not going to be using your backup terribly much. Not like real life where they'll split carries between their lead back and their backup quite extensively, and even get their third, or maybe even, well, usually it's the third guy getting in. They don't usually use 4 guys in the run game, at least not to an significant extent. Um, so yeah, I would, like I said, keep your best one. Your second guy, you might want a red shirt if you can, really. Third guy, you definitely want to redshirt him if you have the opportunity, and you haven't redshirt the second guy. Like I said, you're probably only going to be using the one running back, and then the second guy a little bit. That is, I mean, you can also be in a situation where you have a starting running back, a third down running back, and a power back. But not a lot of teams have those three jobs taken by different running backs. Usually, your starting running back is also the third down back or the power back. Sometimes your starting running back is all three, and I would imagine for Kansas that's going to be the case, although we'll find that out later when we go over to the depth chart. We don't carry fullbacks in Kansas and in a lot of college football. Let's see, so wide receiver, you'll want to keep your best 2 at least. You're going to want to keep 4 total. And the third guy, so you're keeping your top 2 pretty much no matter what, because they're going to get involved quite extensively. You pretty much always, you pretty much always have 2 wide receivers set. You'll always have 2 guys at wide receiver on the field, is what I'm saying. The third guy is typically your slot receiver, although you can have a first or second guy as a slot. It definitely helps even if you've got a really good receiver that can play the slot. I tend to find the slot receiver gets open more consistently than the outside receivers, the X and the Y, because the slot receiver often lines up and is covered by a linebacker, or if the defense is smarter, it'll be the nickelback, which is usually the third worst cornerback, or just the third, probably, I guess you would say the 5th best defensive back on their team is usually the nickelback. Not always the case. Sometimes they'll have a better player playing nickel, and it is quite effective when that happens, I feel like. At least at shutting down the slot or the tight end, depending on who they're covering. But then again, you're taking your best cornerback off of the best wide receiver of the offense, so does that really help the defense as a whole? I can't really say. But in any case, we don't have any options here to really redshirt anybody. We need Grimm. We need Arnold. Skinner's already been redshirted. Same with Wilson, Emilian, and Kubeka. I wish I could get another redshirt in on Kubeka. He's only a 66, and he needs some more development. Tight end. You're going to need to carry 3. You will use 1 primarily. Your second string tight end will show up, but isn't going to get more than like 20 catches over the course of the season usually. So you don't really need a great second tight end. If you want to redshirt your second string, you can. We're typically, I think, almost always going to leave your best player. So, and then this guy's also a senior, so you wouldn't want to redshirt him anyways. But Hanukkah, if he was not a redshirt already, I would consider it. Cardell the same. And then anyone below the third best tight end that you're going to keep, you can definitely redshirt. So Brune, getting a redshirt. Left tackle, you're going to want to keep your best tackle. You're going to want to keep all your best linemen. Yeah, so we'll skip him, but he doesn't have eligibility anyways. If Clements wasn't a redshirt already, we'd hit him with one, but he is. Same with Livingston. For tackle and all offensive line positions, you'll need to carry two of them. You'll want to keep your best one, and then just somebody. Well, you'll want at least two guys from all of your starting offensive. Well, from all of your line positions. You want at the end two guys total. So you'll want four or five guys on the offensive line, and you'll want two guys that can back up the rest of those guys. Anything beyond that, you can redshirt. So we'll have Clements, and Clements is going to be the first of our backups, and Livingston can be the second. So I'm already comfortable with keeping our 5 offensive linemen and these 2 tackles. Anyone else that is eligible on the line that is not a starter, I'm redshirting. So I'm going to hit Leveruski with a red shirt. I'm going to hit Utley Ball with a red shirt. I'm going to hit, let's see, Abajan with a red shirt. I can get away with having only one right tackle because I've got 2 backup left tackles that can take that position and fill it. You can also move a right guard to right tackle. You can move a right guard to center. You can move a right tackle to right guard. You can move a center to left or right guard. You can move a left guard to center or to tackle. So basically, you can move. Mainly, you're going to want to move inward and to the same position. Well, okay, it's hard to say that. Like, you can't really say inward because you can move a left guard to left tackle. It's just weaker. Moving a left tackle to a left guard is stronger, really, for the tackle that is being moved. Um, so the left tackle is the premier position. It requires, well, you typically put your best player at left tackle on the line, your best big player, because they need to be tall. This guy's 6'6". They need to have long arms. The character models are pretty much the same for this game, so you're not going to be able to look at their arm length, and it's not really going to matter because the animations don't change. Even if you did have a different arm length for your tackle, so that is something that's not really in the game. Thanks EA, I thought everything was in the game, if it's in the game, but no, it is not. Yeah, so anyways, we got our line taken care of. Again, we're not hitting forward with a red shirt unless, okay, so there isn't a tiny chance that you could have a situation where you have a guy like Ford who has a year of eligibility, well, has a red shirt available to them, and then they're ranked a little bit better or rated a little bit better than their backup. And if that's the case where it's only a slight difference and they're not a senior, Ford's a senior, so we're not going to hit him with the red shirt. But if he was like a sophomore and he was like a 78, I would consider taking that red shirt, especially if the guy behind him is a senior that will be taking the job in his stead. Because then you get the guy for another year of eligibility, and you get only a slight downgrade. You're not going to really notice a difference. So let's look at left end. So you want to keep 2 left ends usually. Well, you'll want to keep at least 4. Well, at least 3 or 4. I guess 4 backups along the entire defensive line is what I would say. So that's left end, right end, defensive tackle. You'll want 4 guys amongst those positions that are either. Well, no. Okay, so it's really you want a starter at left end, you want a starter at right end, you want, depending on your scheme, either 1 or 2 starters at defensive tackle, and then after those starters, so after your 3 or 4 starters, depending on your scheme, you'll want at least 2 backups amongst those positions that can take the backup spots and be decent. So I might want to keep Ballantine here. I'm definitely going to hit Roland Hayes with a, or Haynes with a red shirt. I'm gonna hit, yeah, well, okay, so we do need to know if we're a 3-4 or a 4-3 or a 4-2-5. You want to know how many down linemen you have. So go ahead and check your scheme. We're a 4-2-5. Okay, that means that there's 4 linemen, defensive linemen. The first number is going to indicate the number of linemen, defensive linemen. The second number will indicate the number of linebackers. So we only have 2 linebackers, which means we're in permanently dime or nickel packaging. Although we can probably switch to dime at times. And we can maybe even have an opportunity. Let's see. Yeah, we have 9 plays where we can bring in 2 extra linebackers and have a 4-4 defense, which would then leave 3 guys in the secondary. So that's for run situations when you're wanting to play heavy and stop the run. But yeah, so we have the 4 down linemen. So we know that we need 2 defensive ends because they're on each end, obviously, and then we'll need 2 defensive tackles. They're in the middle. Okay, so let's get back to the red shirts, that is. And let's see who we can get on the line redshirted. So we'll have a look here. We've got a 68 as a backup currently. I'm not happy with that, especially, for a top 25 team. We need a 70 backing up our defensive line, so that's not ideal. So we do have Woodka here. He'll be a fine backup. So we have one of our 2 backups that we need for the defensive line. Brinkley is pretty good. Let's see if we have a better defensive tackle. So we have and have to keep all of our defensive tackles, which there are 6 of them, and 3, 4, 5 of them are worth keeping in some capacity anyways. So yeah, we can feel free to just redshirt as many ends as we can because we're not going to need them as much, especially the 68 sophomore. I was hoping to redshirt him, so yeah, definitely now that I know that we have backups filled, we can feel free to redshirt him. Left outside linebacker, you'll want to keep 2 of them. Oh, I should mention for each of these, so left end, you'll want to keep 2 typically, right end 2. Defensive tackle, you'll want to keep 3 at least. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're a 4-3, you might want to keep 4 just to be safe. But yeah, 3 is the least. Left outside linebacker, you'll want to keep 2. Yeah. And then for the linebacker positions, you'll want to have. So we're a 4-2-5, which means that we're only starting 2 linebackers. And it'll be a middle linebacker, I believe. Well, it'll be the sub linebacker and then maybe the right outside. I'll have to check how that actually picks who is playing, but my belief is that when it is in a dime or a nickel package, it uses the nickel back, which is the sub linebacker on your depth chart. I don't know why it's not just called a nickel back, but it'll use one of them and maybe the second string as well to pick the second linebacker. I'm not entirely sure how it picks the second guy. I can, you know what? Yeah, it doesn't have depth chart. Not a depth chart, but what do you call that? A formation sub. So I can't check to see. I'm gonna check on Madden. I have it pulled up. Let me see if it says who the second nickel is selected, how it's selected. Let's see. So it's saying that, yeah, so it's the sub linebacker and then the nickel back. Okay, I'll show you what those are later. Those are specific spots on the depth chart. They're towards the end of it if you're going down the list. So yeah, that's how nickel is determined. So that means that we're not even really using these positions as they are. We'll need likely a middle linebacker, and then that's really going to be the biggest thing that we need is a middle linebacker. I guess when we're in the 4-4, we'll be using more of our defense. So I guess for just as in general, you'll keep two at each. Well, you'll keep two outside linebackers per outside linebacker position. You'll keep three middle linebackers typically, unless you have somebody else that can play and back up for it. Amongst your three linebacker positions, you're going to want to carry 3 or 4 starters based on your scheme. I don't even know if there's any. Well, there's got to be teams running 3-4 defenses in college. I would assume there's at least a few. But college football is kind of dominated by the 4-2-5 right now. Yeah, that is the premier defense in college football. Uh, well, anyways, so yeah, I'll keep 2 left outside linebackers. I'm gonna keep only 2 middle linebackers because I've got my 2 freshmen here. I really want to hit them with the red shirt, and I think that yeah, we're gonna have trouble with our backup linebacker position unless I'm keeping Taiwan Berryhill, and I think I'm gonna have to. For one, he is a senior, although he is 77 overall, which means I wouldn't feel terrible about hitting him with a red shirt. He still might react as a senior to being redshirted and just leave after the season. But I'm not redshirting him anyways because I don't really have a great backup for any of the linebacker positions. He's going to need to be the backup. So I'm leaving Berryhill. Cornerback, you're going to need to carry 4. Uh, 2 of which are pretty much always going to be on the field. The third guy at cornerback is typically your nickel back and also your third string safety sometimes. Yeah, it just depends. We'll get to how to choose those later. Yeah, so you're always going to want to keep your 2 best at cornerback, with a few exceptions, I suppose. Like if you're not expecting to win during the course of the season, you don't feel like you need your best players this season. You might want to, and you're feeling like you want to try and save as much talent as possible for the next season, and also the player isn't a senior, then you could potentially redshirt a first or second best cornerback. But typically, you're going to leave your 2 best. Your third string guy can definitely get redshirted. You know, I have been going away from redshirting the third best cornerback because, like I said, they are often the nickel back. And they're also pretty useful as a backup safety. Um, so I don't tend to redshirt the third best guy, but the fourth guy always is available to redshirt. This guy's a junior. I don't feel bad about redshirting him. If he leaves, he leaves. We'll see, but I don't think he will. Basil Wilson, we're going to redshirt him. We're going to redshirt Todd. We're going to redshirt Mills. We're going to redshirt Millerton. We're going to redshirt Yates. Like I said, we only need to carry 4, and we do have 4. Free safety, you're going to need to carry 2. You're going to want to carry your best one, and then your backup, you can pretty much always redshirt him. I guess you do want one good safety backup, or at least have 2 decent cornerbacks that could back up safety and play the nickelback. The nickelback really is a starting position, especially with a 4-2-5 defense, since I just learned that that is what it chooses for the other lineback position, really. Although a nickelback is really a hybrid between a linebacker and a defensive back. But in any case, we want to keep our best free safety. This is a situation, though, where we could hit Burrows with a red shirt because his backup is just as good as him. Yeah, it's unfortunate I can't hit Dye with a red shirt. I'd rather hit him as a junior. Um, yeah, it's unfortunate because this will be Burrow's last year starting, and I tend to start the senior over the junior because the senior has a year less of eligibility. It's their last opportunity. I think, in fairness, if you're a coach, you tend to you tend to abide by seniority if it's close between the talent levels of the players. Really, I would never choose the lesser player just because they're senior. But if they're both 79s like they are, I could definitely hit Burrows with a red shirt and not feel awful about it. He might still leave after the season, but then we still have Dye coming back. I'm gonna leave Burrows though. He is a senior, and I am gonna end up starting him. He's faster than Dye, anyways. Strong safety. You need to carry 2 again. Both safety positions you're carrying 2. You're gonna want to hit. Well, you'll keep your best one typically, like I said. And then I'm gonna hit Maxon with a red shirt. Kicker, you only need 1 kicker. Red shirt anybody else that you can. Same with punter. So this is a situation where I'm actually gonna go ahead and redshirt the better player. Because for one, they're a sophomore, so definitely they're typically going to be okay with a red shirt. The other thing is it's a 65 versus a 63. We're going to have garbage punting anyways, so I might as well save Greaves a year of eligibility since I'm not getting a huge upgrade with him over Addison to begin with. Alright, so that's the red shirts for Kansas. For depth chart, which is the next thing I'll have you set up. Let's go over that. So you can hit triangle or Y on Xbox, and it will auto reorder your depth chart. It's not going to do it right, but it will at least adjust things for the current situation, and then you'll have to go back and fix it. It'll make it easier to fix if there were bigger problems, but you don't really need to use auto reorder if yeah, you don't really need to. So anyways, we have our best quarterback, and again, you just sort it by best to worst. That should be pretty intuitive. So anyways, Daniels, Easters, Ballard are our quarterbacks. For running back, we'll have Neal, Morrison, Hishaw, Lachlan. Fullback, we're gonna put in. So you can put in like your third string tight end, or your third string or worse halfback. Let's see, Morrison's our second string. I don't really want him playing fullback. You can kind of leave a second string running back in. The situation is that if you ever do use a fullback, which we don't even use a fullback, so this is not even worth looking at, to be honest with you. But if you were in an offense that used their fullback, you would then avoid your second string because there is a situation where your first string is tired but your second string's already starting at fullback, so then your third string ends up coming in at halfback. So yeah, again, I would just say put your third string tight end in, which would be Cardell. So I'll have Cardell be the tight end or the fullback. I'll have the backup be whoever I can at running back. That's not the first or second best. So I guess Hishaw is fine. The third string fullback, which is probably never even going to be used. I'm just going to put one of these tight ends in. For wide receiver, so yeah, at fullback you can put a third or worse string running back or a third or worse string tight end. Uh, I mean, I guess sometimes I have my second best tight end as the third string just because they're never really going to see the field in that capacity. Wide receiver, well, we've got Arnold, who's decent enough, Grimm, who's decent enough, Skinner, Wilson, Emilian, Kubeka. You can put your best tight end in the 5th or 6th slot, maybe even the 4th, maybe even the 3rd if they're that great of a tight end, but that's exceedingly rare. There's maybe been, a handful of guys that could have done that at, the in the top 25 teams. That's just typically not going to happen. For tight end, we've got Casey, Hanukkah, Cardell. Yeah, those are usually done well enough, especially if you auto reorder. Left tackle, it's going to mess up. It'll have your best tackle, it'll have your second best tackle, and then it's going to put in your center a lot of times as the third string. This dude's already a starter. You can't start at 2 different positions at the same time, obviously. You can't be in 2 places at once. Foster is never going to be used as a backup anyways, so we're going to take him out. We're going to put in our best, person that can fill the spot. Centers generally can't play left tackle anyways. So we're looking ideally for a right tackle, uh, or well, obviously we either want another left tackle like Livingston, which is what we're gonna do. But if we didn't have Livingston, it would be to look to who is your best backup tackle, uh, left or right. And then if you can't find somebody there, or if there's like a superior option, like it has to be much better as a guard. Because like the game is gonna say that your guard, like Mike Ford, is an 86 at left tackle, the same as his ability at left guard, but that's not the case. Uh, Guard versus tackle is a different skill set. It's a different way of playing the position, and even in this video game, you're gonna want the taller guy at tackle than a short, a shorter guard. So guards don't typically, because they are shorter, they don't typically do extremely well at the tackle position, because shorter means shorter arms, means less ability to engage the end. I'm not sure how much of this really translates to the game, to be honest with you, because I just, I haven't really tested it extensively. But, get in whoever you can. It's fine. Livingston, this is your third string tackle anyways. They hopefully will never see the field. Left guard, it's going to put in... So it put in our best... this is probably the optimal situation here. We have our best left guard. We have our second best left guard. And then we have our third best guard. So we could have Baines in, but he's a starter, so we can't. It would be only Stearns as the other option here instead of Herring. Let's see. So I guess whoever is the better pass blocker I want on the left side, and that looks to be Herring. I just looked at their tendency, agile versus power, but I could look at their ratings, 78, 75, 78 for his ability. Yeah, this guy's worse at pass blocking. He is just worse at it in general. So yeah, we definitely want Herring in as the third string guard. They will probably not see the field, but they might. Especially if you're reusing backups between positions, you can definitely have more than two offensive linemen down at a given time. For center, you want to prioritize guys that are centers. Now, this third string is so bad at being a center, I'm going to put in a guard. And our best backup guard is Simmons, so it'll be Daryl Simmons as the third string center. For right guard, yeah, I don't trust Gorzyka, or whatever his name is. I'm going to put Simmons again in at guard. And I'm even going to start him over Stearns, I think. Let me check his run blocking, because on the right side of the line, the strong side of the formation, which is the right side, like I said, you're going to want a good run blocking pair at guard and tackle. On the left side of the formation, you'll want a good pass blocking pair because you want to protect the backside of your quarterback, because if they get hit from behind, it makes it more likely that they'll fumble and get hurt. So let's see. Yeah, it definitely looks like we can keep Simmons in as the backup guard. He's good enough at run blocking. Right tackle, let's have a look. We've got Kebadeldu starting. Livingston's fine. It put in our best left guard as a starter, which means that you can't have him there. We'll have Clements in instead. And then I'm going to put Clements as the leading backup. Left end, we'll have our best guy, Robinson. We'll have our second best backup end, or really just our backup end, which is the right end in this case, Wubka. You can also put a really good defensive tackle here, so I could have Darrett instead. Except for Darrett is a starter, so I can't. And we're actually even going to have to take Darrett out of the third string, because again, he is starting at another position. So we're going to either put in Withers or Taylor. And the decision here, I guess you can just look at overall and put the better overall guy in. If you were really getting nuanced with it, you would consider more if they have power moves and finesse moves. So this dude does have power moves. He does have decent enough finesse. He's not got great block shutting. That's actually an indicator that this Caleb Taylor would actually be better off as an end than a defensive tackle. Because you need your defensive tackles typically to be good at block shedding so they can stop the run. And typically it's harder to get pressure from the interior, so they don't necessarily need pass or finesse moves at the defensive tackle position. I really do think that guy should be moved. Although he is 6'4", 315 pounds, the bigger guys tend to play the interior defensive tackle. You can see, yeah, he's significantly heavier than Jareem Robinson. He's 55 pounds heavier. So, yeah. Right end, you got your best one. For some reason, it doesn't have Woodka backing up here. I'm going to put Woodka in. And then Taylor is our third string defensive lineman. Darrett is the starter here at defensive tackle. Withers the backup. Taylor, Caldwell, done. Decent tackle group, or at least there's not a lot of there's a lot of depth. If I could take a lot of injuries at defensive tackle before I would notice it, really. Left outside linebacker. You can start a right outside linebacker here, but you'll tend towards keeping the guys at the position that they're used to, and not playing guys out of position. I'm gonna put, yeah, Gillum I want at left outside linebacker, but it's messing things up and is having Brown play out of position. So I'm gonna go ahead and put somebody else in there as a filler. And then I'm going to get Brown in to the right outside linebacker position, and then I'm going to come back to the left outside linebacker position and get, actually, Berryhill can be a good left outside linebacker. He is rated better than Gillum. Gillum's only a 77 because of morale. Left outside linebacker, you're going to prioritize from a statistical or rating standpoint, I should say. You want your better pass rusher. So that actually looks like Berryhill to begin with, so I'm actually going to start him over Gillum. Gillum is going to be moved to our backup linebacker. I will have the third string... Ooh, I didn't mean to change those guys. I'm going to have the third string be either... You can put a left end or a right end, a defensive end that is, at left outside linebacker. So I might put Wuka here. He is better than the linebacker options that we have available. You can also put your second string middle linebacker as a backup outside linebacker if you're not in a 3-4 defense. In a 3-4 defense, you're starting two middle linebackers, so you would have to go down to your third string middle linebacker in order to look at them for other linebacker jobs. For middle linebacker, yeah, you tend to prioritize people that can actually play middle linebacker, but I'm going to play Gillum out of position as the second string. Brown's going to be our right outside linebacker and a starter, so we can't really use him. Berryhill's a starter, so we're down to Fletcher as an option, but we're going to prioritize, especially when the ratings are close, the middle linebacker to the outside linebacker. Gillum is just significantly better than Downing. So, yeah, I feel comfortable with him at middle linebacker. And also, looking at Gillum's ratings, he actually looks more like a middle linebacker than an outside linebacker anyways, because he's terrible at block shedding, he's terrible at power moves, terrible at finesse moves. Don't see how he's blitzing with those ratings. And I guess if he is even an outside linebacker, I'd probably put him at a right outside linebacker, because they blitz less in most schemes. At least the schemes that I have played, and I think that is the case typically, is the left outside linebacker is the blitzer, because they're coming from the backside of the quarterback, and it's easier to force fumbles, like I said. And the right outside linebacker tends to be more of a run stopper or a... well, no, it tends to be a run stopper, but they can also be decent in pass coverage. I guess that's true of any linebacker, is if you can get them good in pass coverage, then that's always great. So anyways, we'll have Brown starting at right outside. Fletcher, not going to be the second string. It's going to be Gillum. Fletcher can be the third string. And then you can technically put a defensive end in the third string, or in backup linebacker, or even starting. You can technically even do it. You can definitely start a left end or right end, a defensive end at left outside linebacker, because like I said, that is your blitzing linebacker, so that's their main responsibility. And defensive ends are specialized in blitzing the quarterback. So that's why they work there, but they're going to be terrible, absolutely terrible in pass coverage. And so I tend to not ever do that. But there are opportunities where you can. There have been situations where I've done that. It just really depends, because a lot of guys can move between an edge position, the two edge positions. It just depends. Like an edge is whoever's on the edge of the formation, and it depends on what scheme you're running, whether that's the end or the outside linebacker. So a lot of left outside linebackers can play defensive end. Um, so yeah, let's have a look at cornerbacks. Yeah, we got a pretty good set. Grant is a starter, so we'll need to take him out. I think I'm putting in Dye. He's really our only option. You'll want to prioritize cornerbacks over safeties because they're built. They're made for the position. You can even look easily at the difference between our fourth string and our fifth string here, a cornerback versus a safety. The cornerback is extremely fast, 91, 95, 91. The safety is slower, 86, 89, 84. And typically, almost always, your cornerbacks are going to be faster than your safeties. Cornerback, you need to be able to keep up with the wide receiver. You need to even be faster than them, ideally, because there are times when you might lose your man. You might go the wrong way with your cornerback and need to cover ground. So you need to be faster in order to cover that ground than the receiver that you're covering. So you want the fastest guy at cornerback that you can get. So I wouldn't use Dye more than a fifth string. If we had another cornerback, I'd put them there, but we were only carrying four, which is what I had recommended and still do. Safety, free safety. We've got our best guy in. Well, it's debatable because I could start Burrows or Dye. When it's a 50-50 like this, it's I guess up to personal preference, and you can look into what you prefer for ratings and all of that. Um, Giving it a quick look, Burrows is faster, Burrows is smarter, he's got better awareness, that is. Not as good at blitzing, but we don't really blitz very much from the safety position in football. I mean, there are definitely safety blitzes, don't get me wrong. That is definitely a thing. It definitely happens. I would say probably like 40 to 45% of your blitzes. Well, I should go lower than that. Probably 35 to 45, 40, 35 to 40, let's say, percent of your blitzes might come from safety. It could be even less. But most of the time when you're blitzing, it's from the linebacker position. It does, again, depend on your scheme. But most of the time, you don't really need a good blitzer at safety. You'll want somebody who is good at zone coverage in particular. Where do we? Oh, so he's a 72 in zone. So he's not terribly good. Actually, Dye kind of fits my scheme better, being a zone uh, defender. I think I'm gonna actually change my mind about. I don't know if I really want to do that. I don't know. It's tough because I would prefer the better zone defender here. Dye is terrible in man coverage, on the other hand, and Burrows is good at that. I guess I'm gonna stick with the senior gets to start. I'm gonna stick with seniority as the tiebreaker. For third string safety, you can either have, if you have another free safety and they're decent enough. This guy's a 69. I'd prefer a better backup. So we could take our third string cornerback, which is Purdy, and you can definitely put a cornerback at free safety. Free safety is on the left side if you're looking at it from the offense's perspective. And they tend to being on the free side. Well, not really the free side, but that's the weak side of the formation, the left side, and it's harder for the quarterback to throw that direction. So, yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Free safeties tend to be better at zone coverage, I would think, because uh, the strong safety being on the strong side of the formation, that's the direction that most teams try to run, or at least run more often. They usually run to the right if they can. I definitely, see them run to the left, like about 45% of the time. So it's just a slight preference for running to the right, but it does make a difference. Yeah, let's have a look at the strong safety position. We've got Grant, who's excellent. He's a run supporter, which makes sense because he's on the strong side of the formation and needs to be able to stop the run. We've got a terrible second string. We're going to take him out. We're going to put in our backup free safety. We'll prioritize free safeties over cornerbacks for the strong safety position because cornerbacks specialize in stopping the pass. Safeties are better at stopping the run. And the strong safety needs to have some ability at stopping the run. So I'm going to check to see if I can get Purdy in as the third string, which would be my preference, because he's rated well. But if he's not good at pursuit, and he's not good at tackling, then I can't use him at strong safety especially. So he's got good tackling. He's got decent enough tackling and pursuit. So I'm going to leave Purdy as our third string safety. If Purdy was really bad at pursuing, really bad at tackling, so I would say if he's below 65 tackling, if he's below 70 pursuit, well, I would even say 75-ish pursuit. Yeah, I guess I'll be safe and say 70. If he's below where you're expecting him to be for pursuit and tackling, then you can look at another safety. Kicker, we got our best kicker. Punter, we got our best punter. Kick returner, this one. So you'll want typically the best guy that you can get for it, which would be Grim. But, well, no, I guess I shouldn't say that. Because typically the best guy at kick or punt return is going to have another job that you don't want to take them out of. So, like, we could have Grim here. Grim would be excellent, but he's our second string wide receiver. And if he gets hurt on a kick return, I'm not going to be terribly happy. However, personally, and for this situation in particular, I am actually going to put Grimm in, even though he's our second string wide receiver. I feel like we're gambling quite a bit as a team anyways, because Jalen Daniels has like a 76 injury rating. So there's a lot of the season is going to come down to the luck of is Jalen healthy? Is Neil healthy? Yeah, if those two guys are healthy the whole season, we're gonna do fairly well. Um, yeah, I just feel like we need to push it with this team and try to get as much out of the season as possible. So I'm actually gonna start Grim. I don't think this is advisable to have your second string wide receiver starting at kick return and having an opportunity to get hurt, or at least take more wear and tear and eventually get hurt. Um, but I'm doing it anyways. We're a risk-taking team. Arnold is our starting wide receiver. I don't want to really have him see the field at kick returner. I'm fine with him being the fourth or fifth guy, but the three above, the first three, I'm gonna tend towards guys that are not in, not having responsibilities outside of kick returning. Ideally, you want your fourth best wide receiver to be a good kick returner. That's very ideal because they're never really going to see the field or be affected, or you're not really going to be affected if they are lost. So yeah, this looks good to me. I would typically recommend Wilson to be the starting kick returner because he's not the first or second best wide receiver. He's not the starting running back. You're not going to really be affected by a 73 overall wide receiver getting hurt. I'm almost convinced to put Wilson in instead of Grimm anyways. Let me check their abilities. So let's see. So kick return is determining how well they are at catching the kick, I believe. You'll want decent carrying. They're both 72. You want better ball carrier vision if you're simming games. I'm looking at moves though, and there's a significant difference between the bag that Grimm carries and Wilson. The bag is what skills you have in your bag. So he's got juke move, he's got spin move. Wilson can't compete. So I kind of do want to keep Grimm in. It is risky, like because I said he's the second string wide receiver. I wouldn't tend towards this, but I'm going to go with it in this case. Punt returner, it will put guys like Grimm in, and again, you could avoid that to avoid injury. I am going to switch Wilson and Arnold. Arnold's our starting wide receiver. If Grimm gets hurt, I want Wilson in. I think intelligently, like smartly, if you're, being very careful, you would have Wilson starting at kick and punt returner. Kickoff starter is just, I tend to, well, for college football, I think I'm going to put, well, you tend to put your kicker in. I wouldn't, put a punter in. I'm a little tempted to because our punter has a weaker leg, and that will help me miss the end zone with my kickoffs, which is what you want to do. You want it to land like within the first 10 yards of, from the end zone, but not exceed not go past the line. Long snapper, just put whoever is rated best in, order. Third down running back, we've got Neal, and then you can put your better guys in. So Morrison is going to be our backup third down back. But for power back, we'll have Hishaw being the backup. And actually, we could have Hishaw start over Neal as a power back, because Neal is only slightly better than him at being a power back. But we're going to just use Neal as a workhorse and just give him as much. We're going to feed that guy until he has, 1,000 yards or more. And then we're going to keep feeding him. For slot, it's hard to say exactly because there's such a thing as a big slot, which is where you have a tall guy playing it, but like for many years it was like your worst starting wide receiver, so your third string starting wide receiver, and they tended to be like 5'11", shorter, 5'10", whatever your short guy is, because they're going to have opportunities to be on the flat and be open and not have to jump and try and make a catch against somebody. So you could have a shorter guy there. But yeah, the modern offenses, they tend to, on occasion, have a big slot. So like the 6'5" dude. As long as they're a good route runner, that's another thing that a slot is typically good at is route running, especially short route running. You can also look at medium route running a little bit, but they're not going to tend to be deep route runners. So Skinner is good at short route running. Looking at our starters, Arnold and Grimm, I don't like, because you typically aren't going to want your starters being slots if you can. But if they're better in the short game, if you think that they can maximize slot and they aren't that good on the outside, meaning that they're not good at jump balls, which is spectacular catching. So looking at Grimm, he's not a good spectacular catcher. He's not really that great of a catcher anyways. He does have decent catch in traffic relatively. Good awareness. He is faster. Well, fast enough at least. He's a really good short route runner. Decent at all route running, really. I mean, pretty good actually. You want to also look at release for a slot. Um, that is where Skinner is maybe preferred. But I feel like Skinner is probably better on the outside, and Grimm is probably better on in the slot. I also kind of look at carrying and their bag, stiff arm, spin move, juke move, and you know, because they're getting the ball in a short yardage situation, and they need to make the most after the catch. So you're gonna get into your bag and use your spin moves and whatever. So yeah, I'm actually gonna start Grim in the slot. You can sometimes have a tight end here. You can sometimes have a running back here. Um, yep. Right, left end, or RLE. It's really, I don't know what the R stands for. It's not right, because it's a left end. But we're going to put our best, well, whoever's rated well, really. Um, so it's looking like we might go like this. Brooks, Woodka, Berryhill, unless we end up starting one of them at right end. It's looking like, okay, so Brooks is actually just as good of a left end as a right end, so we're going to have Woodka start at left end, and we're going to have Robinson the backup. Right end, we're going to have Berryhill backing up Brooks. So yeah, you can definitely use outside linebacker positions at these two end positions, because this is the 3-4 end. Let's see if we can get a better backup here. We'll get Robinson in again. All right, this is your defensive tackle for the 3-4. You want a nose tackle, which is like the big guy that's gonna be powerful and get, you know, have good block shedding is nice. This looks to be in order. We'll look at dime linebacker, which they call sub linebacker. This is the guy that's going to be in for nickel and dime. And I think we want die here because he's the best rated. Yeah, you're going to want typically a middle linebacker. I think I'm going to leave die at the second because he's more of a zone guy. And Wheeler can make better tackles, I believe. Yeah, he's an 85 tackle. That's a huge difference. You want your sub linebacker to be a good tackler. You want them to be good in pursuit, and if you can have them good in block shedding, that would also be nice. And Wheeler is better at every single one of those than Die, so I think he's the backup. I'm going to even put Gillum and Berryhill instead of a free safety. Slot, we're going to put your third best, well, really our fifth best defensive back, which is our third string cornerback in this case, which is Purdy. Die can back it up. That's perfectly fine. Our third string, it looks like our only option really is Dilworth, so we're going to leave him. And that is how you set up your depth chart and also your red shirts. Thanks for watching. The next video will cover how to set up recruiting.